All right. Well, I'm going to start off with some crystal ball predictions for everybody. You guys ready? Number one, the greatest opportunity that you have around this NAR settlement is over the next 4 months and beyond. So let me clarify that. Like anything new, it always takes people time to adopt. But the one thing that you know about people in this industry, they're like water, they'll find a crack and they'll keep going, right? So they're going to be people like all of you who really excel, who've been practicing and are really set up for success. There's the second group of people, they're going to be very slow to the race because they wanted to make pretend like this wasn't happening. And therefore, by, maybe a little after New Year's and stuff, they'll get more acclimated to it. And the third group of people, those are the people that are just going to drop out. They're not going to do anything. They don't do anything. They should not have had a license to be able to help people buy and sell homes in the beginning. So the greatest opportunity is today, because the one thing you know is compounded results is kind of like compound interest. The people that start early and they continuously invest in them in their portfolios, over time, that interest compounds and just grows to be greater and greater and greater. Same thing will happen for all of you in investing the time and skills into yourself. That's prediction number one. Prediction number two. As time goes on, people are going to be more and more conscious, paired with media headlines, of what they're getting in exchange for what they're investing, right? You compare a $10,000 vacation in a high-end resort and the experience given to somebody spending $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on a real estate commission. Is your service as buttoned up as the resort? As of now, for many people, the answer is no, but we'll get there, right? Number three, as interest rates go down, what happens to the market? It gets much busier. Now, are most real estate agents organized with systems and repeatable, predictable client experiences? Yes or no? I see Cherish smiling. I see a couple of other you smiling. I see Feruze like, The answer is no, right? So I said this during COVID, and I was right then, and I'll be right again today. So here's my next prediction. See, what happened during COVID was, it's not that people weren't going to move. They were waiting to move to figure out what went on in world crisis, right? So all of a sudden, you had an influx of clients. So when you look at your business, as you look at it today, what is the capacity that it could handle in terms of clients and process and system and predictable client experiences without anything getting messed up? Now, understand, when rates go down, all of these people that have been waiting are now going to flood the market. So you're going to be busier. So your systems, processes, and repeatable client experiences become more valuable than ever before. Start thinking about this. My next prediction, you'll see between Compass coming soon, Make Me Moves, private exclusives, there is a massive push for inventory here. Our Compass system will allow us to display broker-to-broker commissions. 20% of the sales here were done by agent referrals, right? So if you look at our pre-marketing playbook, we have a ton of good information on how to do this. So all of you need to know how to pitch. And for the people that know how to pitch the best, they're going to win the most, right? So we have a number of cool things that we're working on for you. And obviously, they're all going to start with our accountability leaders, so they get to find out about all of it first. So I have a call with them, I believe, next week. So I've talked to Brad about this offline. He was pretty excited. And, I use Brad as an example because Brad's been here for like 3 years, right, amongst many of the other ones. So, look, I still believe the same thing as I always did. Together, we can be more. It's our job to make the ease of use easier, to find things, to use things, to do things, to collaborate you, and to provide you real-time support. So that's what we're working towards. So based on our product roadmap and timelines, you should see some really, really, really cool shit come out by like the middle of October, right? So everything, like when we look at our platform, and like we have Cherish that has like a binder of stuff, right? And her binder of stuff is great. We have Michelle that has another binder of stuff. Now, all these things are great and all, but, because I don't want to negate the work that you've done, it literally should be like just typing in, I want a listing presentation, it should come up. So that's what we're working on. So I actually now have a spreadsheet that has all of our trainings, all of our scripts. So now we're just sitting here and organizing this all for you. And that leads us to the training today. We all need to learn one process for a listing presentation. Now, today's not the pre-marketing one. We'll add it. It's going to be the framework, but we will be starting to focus on more live demonstrations in the fourth quarter. Who here would like to see these things role played out in actual training sessions live? Good. So we're all on the same page, right? And it's pretty cool because from our event stage, there's like 2 chairs, there's a little table. It could mock a living room. We could walk around and change the pictures so it kind of feels like your room. So there's some pretty cool stuff that we can do. And I will start sharing with you after I share with the accountability leaders a new way that we found that all of you could collaborate together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in real time. Imagine being able to have all of the people here on this community in one place. And when you want to meet somebody, you see somebody at their desk, you could knock on their door and have a conversation with them. It is literally like my dream come true. And I'm telling you, when I went into a rabbit hole, when I saw this technology with all the football players I work with and how they're using it, like I was on a call that was supposed to be 20 minutes and it was an hour and 20 minutes later. And I could have stayed on for another 2 hours. For all of us, this is everything we've dreamed of and more. So one, I just want to start off by always saying like how grateful I am for all of you. Without all of you, there is no community and there is no Chirag Shah Coaching, right? So I want to make sure that all of you are the best salespeople because that's what you're going to need to be for the future. You know, and if you think about professional sports, the people that practice the most, the better they get. So as much as people can say like, well, Chirag, this is the same thing, but yeah, it is because you need to learn it once. And every year you'll get incrementally better at it till you master it. And so if you look at the evolution of business, when you master the presentation part, then you master the client experience part, you're going to get so many more referrals out of it. Then you need to start building a team, right? And a team is literally just people that can leverage things for you. So if you think about the phases of real estate, the first thing that you start off in is like, what do I do? Like, how do I use the MLS? How do I make an appointment? How do I show a property? How do I write an offer? And then you start figuring out how to do a deal, right? Then the next phase is, okay, great. Like now, how do I get as many clients as possible? Then after that, you're like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I need help. And then you start hiring people. And then the top part is you have one system that goes through all of those phases, right? But it all starts with skill set. I believe all this lead generation and all these other things are completely worthless because if you don't know how to close the opportunities you have, you're losing money every time. You're spending money and time in the wrong places. And think about it. If you had a listing appointment every other week, that might be pretty good, right? If you had a listing appointment every week, that's only 52 weeks in the year, that's 52 opportunities. Do you really want to lose a good chunk of those because you don't put the time into practicing? The answer is no. So this is where we are today. This is where we're going. And I showed you kind of how we're going to get there. And I hope you guys really take advantage of the stuff we shared in the AI course. That in itself will change your life. It is your assistant. It is your 150 IQ employee in every different job field in the world. So if you have not watched it, go back. And in the basics, if you're just getting started, just watch session 1 and session 2 only. It'll give you enough to start playing around with it. It's a learn and do thing. So if I'm all of you, I'd be putting 30 minutes in my calendar a day just to mess around with ChatGPT. Put in the most ridiculous things that you could think of. And we're going to keep coming out with more content around AI. It is something I'm 150% all in for all of us because there's not that many things in life that can give you time and money back for $20 a month. Our entire business and the way that we work with you will be driven a lot by AI and an AI coach and all of these different things. Sound good? All right, so let me just pull up my deck and we will get started. All right, can everybody see my deck? Bill, good? Thumbs up? All right, cool. Let's just see if anyone's a question. Okay. Here is our settlement edition. So drop in the chat right now what would be most helpful for you to learn in this post NAR settlement world to set yourselves up for success. So I can make sure to address these challenges, concerns, thoughts, feelings, fears, doubts, worries, hallucinations over the next 45 minutes. You came here today, what would be most helpful for you? Objection handling. All right, Mindy, make a list of all your objections. What else do we have? Leads to clients. Well, turning a lead to a client is giving a great listing presentation. We're going to go through the commission part. Showing and explaining my value. That's addressed in the presentation. All right, so today, Jesse, is a seller's portion. Last week, we had the buyer's portion. What else does everybody have? 3 more questions, concerns, thoughts. And the rest of you, I would assume you're just here for general information. All good. All right, so let's get started. An elevator pitch on why pay compensation. All right, so look, here's the other one. We adapt our training in real time. So when you see a session like this, the question I was asked is, how do you get the most out of me in this coaching? Show up with your specific challenges, situations, things that you're uncomfortable with, because then when we're going through the training, I can add that into the context of specific parts of the conversation. So look, with massive change comes massive opportunity. It happened during COVID when people are faced by media headlines, changes in the industry, economic factors. People want more options, right? When the economy's booming and everything's going well, and arguably the Domino's guy could sell your house for the same amount of money, people just go with one option. But we're getting into this skill market. In some markets, the houses are sitting much longer. In other markets, it's still business as usual, but people are interviewing more and more agents. That's what we're hearing from our clients around the country. So let's go through the 7 keys of an effective pitch. Now, for those of you who wonder how you share your value proposition, you want people to trust you. Trust is a feeling created through interactions and engagement, which really means it's the words that you say and how do you listen. Now, the first key, it's always their choice. I can't go to Bill's house and say, Bill, I'm coming over today. You're going to sell your house. I'm going to give you a presentation. That's not how it works. So as soon as you can accept that it's somebody's choice, then you can actually be a great salesperson. You have no control over what somebody does, so you can't be attached to the outcome. Number 2, the person asking the questions controls the conversation. If you're talking the whole time and they're asking you all the questions, you're not doing a good job, right? The only way to control a conversation is by asking all the questions, right? So if you're going on an interview for something, or you have a friend that's going on a job interview, and you start asking the company that's interviewing you questions, they're literally, unless they're trained in behavioral psychology and sales, they're going to start selling themselves on why they should work with you. Number 3 and number 4, great salespeople are enthusiastic about their product or service and the outcome that the client wants. So everything must be in the benefit of the client and the other party, and you always agree with them. Who wants to hire a salesperson that doesn't agree with them? You're going to say, Chirag, well, that doesn't really work, because what happens if they're just crazy? Well, you go through I'll give you an example. You go through all the comps, their house is dated, then they want upgraded home money, happens every single time, right? And they're going to say, well, I want to list my house for this much, regardless of what the comps say. Great. So what I hear you saying is you want to maximize the equity in your home, and that you feel that since our marketing plan is the best, that we could set a record. See, in the benefit and always in agreement. Number 5, no telling, no explaining, no being combative. If you do numbers 1 through 4 and then you do number 5, all the rapport and trust you built are out the window because they think you did it just to get something. Well, this is what it is, and interest rates are like this, and if you want to win a home, you have to do this, or, these are the like, no one wants to hear that, right? Luxury services don't tell, explain, and they're sure as heck not combative with their clients. Number 6, whatever you do, I support you 100%. Never be attached to any specific outcome, because remember, number 1, it's always their choice. And number 7 is my real wish for all of you. What they choose to do doesn't mean you have to compromise. There's some people that just don't see value in what you do, and they're going to beat you up in the service, the price, and every different aspect. Don't walk, run, please. Now let's talk about how you effectively prepare for the pitch. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. 4 simple things. Collections for comps, right? This is collections of compass. Collections for comps. Now, what does collections for comps do? It allows you to insert your expertise into the comments, right? Remember, the experience continues far after you left. Now, if you look at a seller, they're just thinking, how much am I going to sell my house for? Where am I going to move for? And what is it going to be like for me? Right? Those are the 3 things you're thinking about. And we're going in there about marketing and price and communication and private exclusives and coming soons and concierge, like, boof. So you want to create a great experience you can go back to, right? How well could somebody financially understand an entire market in maybe 15, 20 minutes of a CMA? How long did it take you to understand that information? So within your collections, you're able to put your expertise in the comments to give what I call the ownership experience, what it's like working with you before it happens. Number 2, a marketing calendar. What we call it is a launch calendar. This is how we most effectively launch our properties to maximize the equity in their home. You show up with a plan, a communication plan. Do you know how many agents have 1 listings on a written communication plan? And do you know how many of them don't have a communication plan? The majority, I would say 90% plus of agents don't have a communication plan. Meaning their clients, after they sign up, have no idea what comes next, when they're going to hear from them. There's no marketing calendar, so there's no timeline. And by the way, do you know what else a marketing calendar does for you? It gives you a repeatable and predictable way for your schedule. You say, we do photos on Tuesdays, we do these on Wednesdays, and this is how we launch a property. I have never understood, still to this day, right? One thing amongst many. When you meet a client on Monday, I have to have my property on the market by Saturday. Is your home being foreclosed by then? Is there something I don't know? Is there somebody out to get you? What is it? This is the most valuable financial asset of your life, potentially. Why would you not want a clear process that works, that's thoughtful, and that's planned out? And samples of your marketing. You want to be able to show them what you do, and in their own words, get them to admit that it would bring them the most buyers and the best chance to maximize the equity of their home. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, keep on going. Your pitch book. There should be a little bit about Compass. I would condense down those pages they have because they've given you a lot of options about you and your team. And that's the least important, right? So I would put the stuff about you in the back. I would change the word testimonials to client experiences. You want to show a sample marketing plan, like what you're going to do to maximize the traffic and equity in their home. A sample marketing calendar, right? Like how you launch properties, a communication plan, examples of your marketing assets, and a seller timeline. Number 8 is one of the most important things that nobody talks about. They assume because they bought a house that they know how to sell a house. Right? So has anyone taken the time with you? Has anyone taken the time to share with you the exact timeline and how we could be partners and how you could stay one step ahead throughout the entire process? So it's comfortable for you during an uncomfortable process. Nobody does this. Opportunity. Touring the home. This is where all presentations go bad. So many times When the seller is touring you around the home, what are they looking to do? Anybody? Drop in the chat. Improve their price, impress you. Anybody else? You guys are awfully quiet today. Establish their price. Compliment the seller. Tell you how great the house is and validate the price. Upsell, showing you what they see value from their point of view. Get your buy-in. Okay, great. And what are you trying to do while they do the tour, the home tour? Cindy, why their house should sell for more? What's the agent do? Listen. Listen. Okay. Well, what most agents do, right, Bill, is they find this as a place to build rapport. I'm going to tell the seller, oh my God, this is amazing. This is great. Love what you've done. No. Bad, 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 and bad. Right? So everyone, they're selling you. You're either selling them or selling you. Now you've done all these things to build rapport. You've done your Med C. You agree with them. You overcompliment them. And then subsequently, when you get to the pricing part, you start beating them up on price. It does not work. Number two, you are expert luxury marketers. So you need to establish authority and control in the beginning. And the next part is, if you don't do this, these people will tour you around the house for 30, 40, 50 minutes. And then in the end, they're like, okay, can we kind of get through this quickly? Like we have another appointment. Sellers don't plan for you to be in their house for 3 hours. I don't want somebody in my house 3 hours. I can't imagine they do either. So this is where the over rapport and lack of sales process comes into play. Now let's talk about a more effective way of doing this. Number one, you want them to know you, like you, trust you, and have that feeling. So what I would say is, let's see who's here. Roger. Would it be okay if I asked you a few really important questions as we walk through the home so that I can create the positioning to most effectively, so that I know how to effectively position your home on the market to help you maximize the equity in the sale? And they're going to say, oh yeah, that's great, right? Because it's for what they want, right? How to most effectively position your home to maximize the equity in sale of your home. And by the way, before doing that, you have to be quick and just look around. And you're going to say, wow, it's very clear that Chirag, your office is great, that you have really nice furniture, the glass is a nice touch, and everything is modern, the high ceilings and the lighting really make the place stand out. And then I'm going to say, so would it be okay if I asked you a few really important questions so we can establish and understand how to most effectively position your house on the market to attract the largest buyer pool and maximize your equity? They're going to say, oh yeah, that sounds great, right? So when you're doing this, you could do it that way, or you could say, help me craft a story for your ideal buyer. You'll know with the right client what you should use. What do you love most about your home? They're going to tell you. What's your favorite room in the house and why? What's your favorite memory in your home? What about the location do you love the most? What's one thing you didn't know about the home when you moved in that you loved the most now? What are the experiences that you've had here that you feel that any family could have? After that, do you realize they're going to tell you about what they love, what made them buy the house, what they're going to miss the most, all of those emotionally triggered things. And they're going to go back and they're going to sit down. They're going to be like, wow, Chirag really cares. They're going to feel good about me. I gave them the Med C that makes it all about them. I got them to open up and not make it a transaction, but to actually make it feel human. Because remember, as soon as you get into the marketing, please take all your pictures down, depersonalize it, the magnets. It needs to feel that someone else could have their own memories here. They could move themselves in. We want to paint the house gray. We want to compass concierge in. Before you know it, they feel like they live in a hotel room, not their home. And in somebody's house, every single thing they chose is their own. So in their mind, it's perfect. And essentially, we're going to tell them the way they live is Are we good with that? Brad had a good question in there. The Compass Advantage. So what is a real estate technology company, right? It is a curated, seamless, end-to-end client experience that's powered through our proprietary billion-dollar technology platform. You could say that one a couple of times, right? A curated, seamless, end-to-end client experience that is powered through our proprietary billion-dollar technology platform. If people say, what's Compass? And this is more for out there, it's a publicly traded Fortune 500 real estate technology company that's invested over $1 billion into the Compass technology platform, allowing agents to work most effectively so we can help you sell your home faster for more money. You could literally just put this on a slide. So sometimes what's compelling to sellers, largest independent brokerages, true luxury brands don't franchise. The difference between Compass and every other brokerage is if you're hiring a lawyer for your most important legal defense, would you want a law firm that hired any lawyer from any college or the ones that selectively pick the best agents from the best colleges? That we have 30,000 agents across 400 offices and that we're connected by one single platform, right? You can show workplace. $500 billion in transaction volumes. The experience here speaks alone. And again, it's a publicly traded Fortune 500 companies. So look, stop telling clients what you do and start showing them how it benefits them. The Compass value in 60 seconds. Have we all seen the Compass technology video? Does anyone need to see it today that has not seen it before? You guys all have access to it. It's a 60-second video that sells the value of technology for you so you don't have to say it. Explaining what a real estate technology company can be, very challenging. I would send this in the pre-listing part of it so to review it. If you don't have it, play it on your iPad and ask them what questions they have. There's only 3 things sellers care about: price, marketing, and communication. Don't overcomplicate things. This is very simple. Pricing the home, right? I would do marketing than price, but generally speaking, people have more questions on price. So we try to put the meat up front, as they would say, or put the broccoli behind the steak. Now, what I want to talk about pricing is number one, framing the conversation. You guys all have access to this, the keys to an effective partnership. Would you agree there are things that you can control as the owner of the home, things that I can control as the agent you choose to partner with, and ultimately things that no one can control, right? So if you're having this conversation, I would say, before we discuss positioning your home on the market, would it be okay if we aligned around one simple concept? There's things you're sure, and you're going to go through the script. Now, it's really important to ask the question, as the owner of this home, Bill, can you control the asking price in which you offer the home? Yes. The condition of which the home's on the market? Yes. The terms that you offer a buyer in selling your home? Yes. And ultimately the accessibility, how difficult or easy you make it for agents and clients to get in? Yes. Bill, are there any other things that you can control as the owner of this home? He's going to say no. What can I control as the agent? Can I control the visual story we tell of your home? Yes. Can I control the marketing and advertising plan and ultimately how we execute it? Yes. Can I control the negotiation strategy once we have an offer? Yes. And lastly, can I control the communication and the communication and the client experience and service throughout the process? Yes. Is there anything else you feel like you control? No. My friends, you have role clarity now. Now they know what your job is. Ultimately, the things that none of us can control. Can either one of us control world events? No. Can either one of us control the local economy? No. Can either one of us control the stock rate? No. Can either one of us control the results of the election? No. Can either one of us control interest rates? No. And ultimately, can either one of us control the prices your neighbors are willing to accept for their homes? And the prices other buyers are willing to pay for homes? No. So would you agree, Bill, it's a partnership of what you can control and what I can control versus what none of us can control? Everyone says yes to this. Now let's discuss how we position your home on the market. Now, positioning is different than pricing. Pricing, CMA, and all these other words implies there's a winner or a loser. It's not collaborative. It's not luxury. Positioning your home on the market is more sophisticated and it's more collaborative. Sharing the market versus telling the market. So when you share the market, you're asking them questions and you're enrolling them in the presentation. How many days was this on the market? What was the list price to sales price? Ultimately, what did this home sell for? How is this house similar to yours? You get them talking. So in the end, you can say, all right, Bill, so what I hear you saying is this, 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 and this. Is that correct? Because they've read everything. You're going to say, yeah, that 100% is correct. And now they've processed the information differently because it was their own, from their own words and their own thoughts. Marketing the home. Here's your marketing calendar. Right? You can take this and turn this into a written marketing plan. We have these documents on our portal for you. Now, when you're doing this, if you want to take it the next step further, you can say, I will customize this into a Google Calendar that I will share with you for your listing. My advice to you for the, take it for the 2 cents it's worth, is I would be building one of these client calendars for all of my clients. I'd be putting their showings on there. And on the showings, if they have a question, I would put a link to that feedback doc where you organize all the feedback. So everything is streamlined so they can find everything from their calendar. And they don't have to email you like, when was that appointment that you had? And they could just add the calendar. And it's important to understand, if you want, if they use iCloud or Google. So yes, this is one more thing to do and learn, but I find that the time you put in will give you 100 times out. Communication plans, right? So essentially, when you're talking about a communication plan, you want to frame the conversation. I would say, Roger, I have a few really important, hey, Roger, I want to ask you a couple questions. Now, indulge me that this will all make sense to you and how it's going to benefit you having a better client experience. So let me ask you, I always point to the cell phone, right? Doesn't cost it's $1,000, so it's not cheap, but it's not like $10,000, but mentally is a high value because it's your phone. Roger, if you were to hire a service to fix your phone, would you want to go to a place where you didn't know what days of the week it was open, this business was open and closed? No. Okay. And would you feel comfortable leaving it somewhere where the hours of operation weren't clear? No. Knowing you're a business professional, would the type of service be high on your consideration list if they didn't have a clear after hours policy of how you can make an appointment during the times outside of work hours because you're busy now? And ultimately, would you follow through and invest in a service that had no clear emergency policy? Meaning, if there was a way that you had to get a hold of the company to find something out from your phone because it has a lot of important information, that would you move forward with the service like that? They're going to say no. And I'm going to say, I'm really happy that we're in alignment, because if you wouldn't want that experience with dropping your phone off, we want to make sure that when you make the investment in partnering with us, that doesn't happen when you sell your home. And then you could simply just go through the plan and just ask them the questions, right? Now, here's another important part. What would you like updates on? I would say, Bill, Christine, we find these 4 factors: the number of showings, the showing feedback, the market update, any changes in the market, and the results of our marketing, the 4 drivers to making a financial decision for you. Does that make sense? And they're going to say, yeah, 100%, because all of these data points are what a person should be factoring in to make any kind of large financial decision. They're going to say 100%. So then we can be in alignment that it's irresponsible. I like that word. It is irresponsible of me to share one data point with the other 3, because what we know from the past is people might take one data point and factor or weigh that too much for their decision. That's why when we have a weekly call, I go through all 4 of these items, and then we discuss what our strategy is that's best for you in maximizing your equity going forward. Would that be okay? And they're going to say yes. Now, you're going to say there might be emergencies, right? Like if there's a last minute showing or an offer comes in or a property comes on the market that might negatively impact your equity, I'll be in touch with you right away to get an appointment and to go through this stuff, right? And if not, it's just a communication process. Now, the other part that you want to highlight is, has anyone taken the time to explain to you how showing feedback works? And they're going to say no. You're going to say, great. So when you were looking at homes, Roger and Christine as a buyer, at the end of the day, after you see, how many homes did you look at? They're going to say 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, right? It's multiple homes. So when you had those last few minutes with your agent, what during the process and at the end of the process were you most concerned about discussing? It's all about that, right? And you're going to say, while you're looking at homes, how important was it to give information to the seller's agents and the sellers to most effectively sell their home and help them in what they're looking to do? The people are going to say no. So it's safe to say most buyers are like you. So we want to set the expectation. Your Ring doorbell might go off. Agents, when they're with their clients, are focused on their clients. And some agents do not feel comfortable even asking their clients any information. That being said, we have great relationships with many agents who do provide it. So we make 3 attempts to get feedback the next day: phone, email, text. At the end of 3 attempts, I want to be 100% clear that there's a good amount of people that are not going to leave any feedback. Second, no feedback is feedback. Number 3, an offer is feedback. And again, that goes into the grander context of how many people have seen the property, what people are saying, what's going on in the market since we listed the home, since the previous week, and ultimately what the results of our marketing is. Questions, comments, concerns? Buyer's agent's commission. Okay. Let me just pull this down for a second and let's have a heart-to-heart.
Hey, Chirag, I have a question, and it's a little too verbose to put in the chat.
Shoot.
So in giving feedback for like a weekly check-in based on your communication plan with a client who's a seller, would there be any prompts or questions that you would, I know this is, case specific, but are there any prompts or questions that you would be asking of the seller beyond the feedback that you're giving them? Like, let's just say, things aren't moving, but you're just providing them data and feedback.
All right, hold on. You pause for a second. So what you want to do, and I think I'll answer this, is you want to send an email in advance, right? That says, hey, here's the document that'll show you the number of showings. Here's the showing feedback. Here's a link to the collection, right? That will show you any of the market updates. Please note, I made comments on these properties with updates, as well as here's the results of our marketing, and that's an insights report. And you're going to say, please review these 4 areas and send any questions that you have in advance.
Please review. Okay, got it.
Wait, I think the internet is cut. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Did Chirag freeze? Nope, we lost him. So,
All right.
Greg,
Well, obviously the
yeah.
technical piece. All right, I'm back. The internet, even though I'm in a suburb with really good internet, cut out. So Brad, I would, number 1, start off by prefacing what data they want to review, highlight any specific things you want them to look at, and then I would go through each piece and discuss it with them in detail.
Got it.
You have to prep them with the information prior to, right? And then say, please take, I would send this over 48 to 72 hours in advance and say, please take the time to review these, and then explain to them, this is the context of which I want you to look at it. And please send me your personalized questions in advance so I could have the information prepared to discuss at blank and blank day and time.
Yeah, I got it. For this specific case, we're early on and it's a private exclusive, so I don't have much feedback to give them, right? We only have a couple.
Right? So when you're doing private exclusive, like, look, this is a very private way to sell your home where it's not mass marketed, right? So
yeah.
this is the amount of feedback we have, and sometimes we could have no feedback because it's just based on being very selective, and that's the whole essence of doing this, right? So go look at our pre-marketing playbook and like try to do like a little happy hour or something at the house where you can start asking your colleagues for feedback. And I would literally be walking around the house with the feedback. And you got a applaud note, right?
You got a what?
Applaud? Did you get applaud note?
I don't know what that is.
The little AI device, the one that goes to the back of your where's my little applaud box? This. Did you get one of these?
I've never heard of that. No, I don't know what
You're on
that is.
every call. I don't know. Yes, get one of these.
Okay.
It goes onto the back of your phone, and it's a Bluetooth-enabled AI voice recording device powered by ChatGPT-4. So you literally could walk around with it going on and ask the people for feedback. Now, one of the things that's really important in this whole private exclusive feedback is I can't go to Cherish and say, and Martha, and say, can you guys give me feedback? Feedback on what? Right? Is it on price? Is it on presentation? Is it on the location? You need to be really specific. Remember, communication without context is miscommunication. All right, so let me go through this whole buyer's commission part now, right? For the love of God, I'm begging you all, please stop getting in the weeds. Well, what do the forms say? Who cares about the forms? The forms are the goddamn forms. Like I'm telling you, I said this on a webinar once for several hundred agents, and I said this to the sales manager and the president, Kimberly Harris. I'm like, a lot of people are not going to know, are really not going to like what I'm about to say. And all of a sudden I see her face because they don't know what the hell I'm going to say. Heck, sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to say. I said, for all of the people that are in the chat that are obsessed over what are the forms, what are this, what are that, I'm like, you are going to be poor and have no money. Because if you don't know how to talk to people and explain what you do, you're never going to get to the forms and nobody's ever going to care. The forms are a legal document. That's all that it is. The forms have limitations. They have one way to explain them. You're not lawyers. So what is this agreement? It is a mutual commitment of our responsibilities to each other. Write that down. A mutual commitment of our responsibilities to each other and how we work together, including compensation. A mutual commitment of our responsibilities to each other and how we work together, including compensation. Doesn't that sound a lot better than you want to sign the listing agreement? This is my buyer's agreement that outlines how my buyer's compensation is going to be paid. Great. I'm telling you, kill the word commission. Just kill it. If I'm hiring somebody to sell my car, I expect to pay them because they're selling my car a commission, correct? So then if I'm like, okay, let's discuss what buyer's commission. Well, wait a second, why am I paying the buyer's fee? They have their own service. I'm paying you. Doesn't that make sense? So stop, like think about it. What is one word or a phrase that's in all of these headlines? Buyer's agent's commission. So what are the three words you don't want to say? Buyer's agent's commission, because it's going to trigger them with all this negative media shit. Like I remember when we did sorry for my profanity, as you know, I'm very passionate about this topic. Remember we did the negative media headlines and we showed like the end of 6% commission. Well, if you're here in like Westchester and Fairfield County, you wish you could get a 6% commission. You wish. There's not a standard commission. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It is not our fault as agents that the plaintiff's attorney was like Harvey Specter from Suits, and NAR brought in like a law student from college. Like somebody that watched a lot of Suits and Matlock as a kid could have done a better job than the NAR attorney. So now we're just stuck with what's left. That's it. So what is a commission? It is an incentive for the buyer. That's all that it is. So the first thing you want to do is what? Anybody? Somebody. A mutual commitment of our responsibility to each other's and how we work together, including compensation. I've come up with some good one-liners, but that might be one of my favorites. All right. So the first thing you want to do is address the elephant in the room. Hey, now we're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about buyer incentives. And I just want you to know, I want to go through a few different options. And whatever you decide to do, I support you 100%. But what I want to be clear about is you don't have to offer out any incentive to a buyer's agent. What? All right, come on. Now give it to me. Now, all the people like, I don't want to say that. Why would I say that? Now give me your questions. Can anyone clarify why I would want you guys to start off with that statement? All right, I'm not going forward till somebody gives me one answer. It's the truth. Transparency. It's a fact. 100%. So if it's their choice, I want to be in agreement with them and I want it to be in their benefit. Oh, here's a but. All right, come on, give me the but. But let me find this person and mute them. This is good. But an incentive for the buyer. Yeah, but we don't have to offer out any incentive to a buyer if you don't feel like it's in your best. So I like Cherish and Brad. I'm going to marry you two together. And since I like her last name, because it's really cool, Mr. and Mrs. Hope, I would just say, just like this, I would say, look, we're going to discuss if you'd like to offer an incentive to the buyer, and whatever you decide to do, I'm going to support you both 100%. And to be very clear, you don't have to offer out any incentive. It's a choice that you'll get to make. Would that be okay with you? Both of you unmute yourselves. So you guys know the dialogues very well. So we'll play along for everybody to make this as real as possible.
I think Brad might be on a call.
Sorry,
No,
Chirag, I
there
was
is.
just on a call and I heard you ask me to unmute.
I don't know why I can't pin two people. All right. So I've married you and Cherish together. You guys are Mr. and Mrs. Hope. And
Okay.
I'm going to
Talk to
be
my wife
sharing with
about
you.
that.
Yep, exactly. So I'm gonna say, look, ultimately, I'm saying, we're going to talk about offering potentially an incentive to the buyer.
Mhm.
And I want you to know, we're going to go through several different options, and whatever you do, I decide to support you both 100%. But to be very clear, before we get started, you don't have to offer out any kind of incentive. What you choose to do is 100% your choice. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the first option essentially is offer out no incentive to a buyer to subsidize or compensate the cost of their service. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were looking at these 4 different homes, and I would have this stuff prepared, and ultimately you had 3 homes that offered incentives that covered most, if not all of your costs, and one that did not, would that influence you in any way of which home you saw and why?
Honey, would you like to go first?
Potentially. I suppose it comes down to the net.
And why do you think it would influence you whether you went or you didn't go?
I mean, I would think I would want to have a clear conversation with my agent and have a good understanding with them what our expectations are in terms of compensation. So that would be my first question if I saw, something deviating, because I wouldn't want it to become an obstacle to us finding, the home that's truly right for us.
I 100% agree, and I'm not sure how much you've read in the news about this, the settlement and these new rules and regulations, but effectively going forward, the majority, if not all agents that are working or clients that are buyers that are working with agents will have written compensation agreements with them. So that being said, it's just something to consider, right? We've done the research, and these other three, this is the incentive that they're offering. Now, the second option is you can offer out a flat fee, right? It could just be one nominal amount that you choose to offer, and that a buyer would potentially have to subsidize the remainder. Now, we'll put yourselves in the buyers, and as you guys are moving to another home, how would this impact your choice on viewing a property?
Sorry, I thought I was answering that question before from the buyer's perspective, but it wouldn't. I would want to have a clear expectation with my buyer's agent about how that compensation would be paid, because I don't want it to affect any of my decision-making process when looking at properties to view.
Well, Brad, assume just with most buyers, they have a compensation agreement, right? So whether it could be 2.5%, 3%, whatever the parties mutually agreed upon is what a buyer will be investing in the service of an agent. Now, as you can see in these three other properties, they're offering out incentives to the buyers to offset most of their costs, if not all of their costs. So a flat fee is the second option, right? The third option is to offer out a sales incentive. So if you think about it, whether you're going to purchase a car, a phone, or even going shopping at Saks, different brands have different incentives to lure a buyer in. Offering out a buyer's incentive is one of the most traditional methods of sales, and it's what we've been doing previously for the last 2 decades in selling properties. Right? And ultimately, the fourth option is you can offer out no incentive, but the buyer can come and still write the incentive that they're looking for in the offer. The benefit of that is it might be a range of numbers, right? Or it could be more or less than what you originally thought, both a flat fee or just offering out a incentive like we have in the past. But the other part that you want to think about is if you don't have an incentive, you might not draw in every different buyer. So generally, sales incentives are used by large companies and brands to increase awareness and traffic around a product or service. So based on those options, what would work best for you and why?
So Chirag, you've done an immense amount of homework, and the properties that you're showing us are the 4 properties that are presently marketed in our neighborhood. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. 3 out of the 4 offering compensation.
3 out of 4 offering incentives to the buyer to offset or cover the cost of their services for their agent.
And from your experience, is offering the compensation going to offset our time on market?
Well, here's the thing. If I could wave a magic wand and be able to answer that question, I don't think I would be here. I don't think you'd be here. We'd all be in a different place, right? So generally speaking, and offering incentive, right? If you go back to how you guys felt about it, even that one pause, maybe we want to see the property, maybe we don't want to see the property, right? Offering out an incentive can never overcompensate for something that is overpriced or overvalued, right? Offering out an incentive potentially maximizes the opportunity for as many people to see the property without pause, right? So your house is about $1.5 million that we agreed upon. And these other properties are offering out 3% incentives. So someone coming to a home that had no incentives would be factoring in a $45,000 additional cost. The other thing to factor in is all of the comparable properties we looked at factored in the seller offering out a 2.5%, 3% incentive. In this case, it's 3%. And just on a side note, if you have not pulled the last like years of sales from COVID and what every co-broke percentage was, go back and do it before the MLS eliminates the data. I don't know if they're going to or not. So that I would rephrase the question to that way, Cherish.
So it stands to reason by offering the incentive as others are doing, that we kind of keep things the status quo. We don't run any risk. But I think what I'm hearing, that there could be a risk if we were to keep it vague or not offer an incentive, of course. But, you know, I can't help but think that maybe there's an opportunity to keep it vague, you know, letting them know that we would considering offer buyer broker's incentive and perhaps playing around with the price to be competitive. And that would also get people in the door.
Yeah, so look, ultimately, again, it's whatever you decide to do, I support you 100%, right? Obviously, offering out the best incentives and having a competitive price will create the most traffic for your home. And ultimately, what we know is when you have the most traffic, you have the highest likelihood to get the best price, right? So if we have 20 people interested in your home, it might be a different negotiation strategy than only one person's interested in the home.
Well, I think it's something to think about. And my wife always makes the best decisions, but that's something I would like to keep into that consideration, because I think if we have the right price, that's the thing that's going to get the phone to ring to where you can answer the question, and answering the question might be, yes, my seller is willing to offer compensation at whatever you have agreed with your buyer client. But it's something to think about.
How do you feel about this?
Are you asking the group body?
I'm asking you, you're Mrs. Hope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the way we'd like to proceed at this point in time. You know, we have a couple of weeks to discuss this further prior to the home going on the market, but leaving it vague and pricing it competitively seems to kind of be the best route at the moment.
So exactly. And so ultimately, I'll leave you with one last thought. What you want to choose is to be proactive or reactive, right? So if a buyer is looking at 3 other properties, and this is what I really encourage you to think about, and they all offer an incentive, they don't know that they could call and potentially get an incentive. They might leave your property off the list because agents will have to disclose this information. And the other thing I'm going to leave you with is, have you ever wondered what an agent does in exchange for the compensation they receive? Buyer's agent.
Sure.
So here, this is our list. I apologize in advance. It's a lot of different things, and some really are just relevant to us, but have an idea of what an agent will be doing with the buyer and how this relates to your timeline. And I'm going to go back to the med scene, what you're motivated by, and ensuring a smooth transaction, because if there's no incentive, we might get an unrepresented buyer, and that poses a different set of challenges. So look, we're in agreement with price, marketing, communication, and our collaboration together. So why don't you take some time? We don't have to discuss the incentive today, as the property's not going on the market. So we could just simply sign our agreement that has our mutual responsibilities to each other, that discusses our compensation, and we could just add an addendum on after to discuss any incentive if we choose to do it. And let's just start moving forward and help you guys move to sunny San Diego on the beach, as you guys shared you want to.
Sounds great, Chirag. Thanks for laying out the landscape and telling us about our
So,
options.
Perfect. Now, I want to stay after. I know it's still after 2, but what questions you all have? Abby, Joseph, if you say there's no incentive, that does not mean they're going to just automatically not offer an incentive. That is our own fears, doubts, and worries. And look, a lot of these clients, like, think about this, but Shrug, it's in their best benefit. As a parent, so is everything you tell your kid. It's not like they listen the first time. Sometimes they're going to have to go through and watch other properties sell and have crickets, right? Like, it's a process. That's why understanding your presentation and getting them to agree to your pricing strategy, samples of your marketing, the calendar, the positioning, the communication, outlining what you control and what they control. So if something happens, it's something we already agreed that's out of our control. So when they're going, well, nothing's really happening. Can we change the pictures? Can we change this? Can we change? No, 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 we agreed upon it, right? That's why sending them all this stuff in advance is really helpful. Right? Bill, you need to taller test the comparables and ask the pending sold comparables may not answer you, but ask. So this is a mess. I've been calling agents and they're just say, put it in your offer. So putting it in your offer, in my opinion, and there are other coaches and trainers saying this, is a disadvantage to the seller because you don't have any incentive-based things. If you could just go somewhere and ask for a discount when you got there, believe me, like Nordstrom's, Bloomingdale's, Gucci, all of these brands would have figured it out. It's not like people use incentives and time-based incentive in every other industry in the world. People are saying this because it's a way to kick the ball down the road. So you can put it in your offer, but imagine what a mess that is for sellers. So there's nothing you could do. The most important thing to understand in this, you have to play the game within the rules of the game. And these are the new rules of the game. So just get used to it. Okay, if you want to put it in the thing, great. Mr. Buyer, they're not disclosing any incentive. They put it in the offer. So our agreement's our agreement. If you're good with that, we can still go see the property. But again, this is why it's really important to nail that buyer's consultation too. This is why explaining this to people is, for the seller, it's clarity, right? Do you want a bunch of properties where ultimately the hangup is what an agent is potentially being paid? Because that's what you're doing by not offering out an incentive. Remember, if the buyer's agent brings this buyer to a property, they have to work with the buyer because it was, what is that word called? I can't think of it. Hold on. It's like you're almost creating a meeting of the minds, but then they have to fire their agent, hire another agent. The agent has to show the property. Like this stuff happens all the time. The good old government has created us more problems than solutions. So that's kind of where we are. Right. But all of you need to categorize every objection you get around this, and I will come up with an answer and give it to you in real time. That's what those live role-playing sessions are for, is being able to answer in real time every week what you have going on to the market. So make sure that as we hit our next 90 days, that you show up and you start writing these things down. Help me help you, as they would say in Jerry Maguire. You guys asked for this extra session. I'm happy to do this extra session. If you need more support because you have things that are going on that you just don't know about or completely new, I'm happy to raise my hand and volunteer to say I want to be there for you 100% of the time. I cannot fix everyone's personal situations, but like what one person sees that goes across everything, those I can solve. Right? All right, everybody, listen, here's the deal. Enjoy your Labor Day on Monday. Like, just take this week, do what you need to do, and just understand this. We're going to annihilate the next 4 months of this year. From business planning to skill building, to objection handling, to community, to collaboration, to referrals, and the best ways to use AI, and all the things that we already have here. You have everything you need all in one place, the people, places, and things. So just show up, be dedicated. If you could spend 2 hours a week, actually an hour and a half, a buyer session, a seller session, and a role-playing session, then whatever else you decide to do, right? Join the accountability groups. But be prepared. It is coming, and the time for all of you is now. So is this helpful for you today to go through the listing presentation again? And by the way, when you earn trust and rapport through the listing presentation, a lot of the sellers will be like, Brad, what do you think I should do? I said, look, I would offer out an incentive. Every single price that you're happy with that we base your home on was based with the seller also offering out an incentive. Do we really want to price the property 2 or 3% less because we're not offering out an incentive? Because buyers are going to be looking at the comparable properties as well. All right, everybody, as they always say, with love in my heart, I love you all. Have a powerful, powerful, powerful day. And our new journey begins next week. And in this time, go back and watch AI session 1 and 2, just to make sure that you know how to use ChatGPT correctly, because we'll be going back to that again, and again. Bye, everybody.